Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ryan Manalastas and I'm a solution specialist for Microsoft Philippines. I'm here to talk to you about how you can save money and innovate using the set of technologies for unified communications. The best way that I can show you what we mean when we talk about unified communications is by playing this video. Okay? Hopefully after this video, you'll get a good idea on the capabilities that are covered by Microsoft Unified Communications.
The fact that they went 15 minutes over is a good sign. They were reacting to
Mr. Bremer, as you know, this committee is tasked with finding the team and the city best prepared to receive funding and considerable attention for their program. This program is going to be used nationally as an example of best practices in transportation planning and the subsequent reduction of carbon emissions across the country.
Yes, thank you.
We are especially interested in the process your firm used in bringing your city's light rail project to completion. Now, I see here your staff spent less than 78% of your city's proposed budget to handle the entire project, also by your own estimate, in leveraging innovative software-based communications technologies. Your team completed the project 2 months ahead of schedule. Is this correct?
Well, actually, no.
So this is incorrect.
The savings were larger. Contractors spent less of their proposed planning budgets as well. Savings hadn't been taken into account prior to the published report.
So the savings were even larger.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on, shall we?
Yes,
Mr. Bremer, I thought you came here today prepared to conduct a comprehensive presentation by your team.
I am. And they're right here. I have 2 team members who are in the main office and a third who's telecommuting from home. Now, each would have to expend over 2,260 pounds of CO2 in ground and jet transportation fuel to be here in person for the purpose of explaining to this committee how that can be avoided. This seemed counterproductive, not to mention costly.
Point taken, Mr. Bremer.
What does your flying saucer do, Mr. Bremer? We have a brand new conferencing phone to dial into Audio Bridge.
This device will broadcast live audio and video of these proceedings using Live Meeting. Thanks to this, we've saved over 50% last year in audio conferencing costs. In this meeting alone, I will save you $50 in audio conferencing costs.
Where do you want us to sit, Ted?
Right where you are. When you speak, this device will track to whoever's speaking and put them right up there on the screen, where you see me now. Automatically. There's no need to set up the conference bridge because Microsoft Live Meeting handles both audio and video at the same time. Well, now I'd like you to meet the team. First, we have Bill Malone.
Hello. My role was transportation. I headed up the light rail project.
Hello, I'm Deborah Garcia, and I handled citizen and corporate outreach for the project.
Hi everybody, I'm Don Richardson, working from home today, and I handled the technical support, planning, and development for the project.
All right, Bill, you're up.
The whole conventional timeline for the light rail project, planning right through construction, was cut in half because of the same technologies we're using here today. Now, this was used throughout our project with our planners, vendors, and contractors. And also, beyond Live Meeting, we used our ability to share our desktops through Office Communicator. Now, because we are federated with cities and their contractors, red tape and the general bureaucracy of getting approvals and permits was pretty much kept at a minimum. Decisions on zoning and blueprints were made in real time because everyone was working from the same page. See, human lag is the #1 reason why projects such as these run behind schedule. I've prepared a little demo on how I would use desktop sharing in these situations. Now, first, I'd find availability of my team using presence. Here's my guys. Now, they're green, which means they are available, and I can contact them in a variety of ways. But here, I choose I am, and then move them to voice.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Bill can have as many as 10 people seeing what's on his desktop, and he can have any of them be able to control what the rest see. Oh, look, Bill's given me control of his desktop.
Exactly. Ted can now zoom in, highlight, drill down in my plan. Anything I can do in this plan, he can do. So we evaluated the population centers and where we were most likely to get ridership.
In the outer areas where we couldn't reduce commuting, we recommended telework. Then we took a look at the metro areas.
So all you need to telecommute is a laptop or PC, software, and an internet connection?
Yes, but remember, to achieve meaningful reduction of carbon emissions, telecommuting and flex work initiatives need to be deployed across both government and in as many private sectors as possible.
So during our recent flood, it effectively divided our city in two. Without our ability to telecommute, the local government and most of our large private sector businesses would have shut down for over 30 days.
How did you manage to get such broad participation from the constituents? Through the citizen service platform?
Exactly. We used it to gather consensus about the routes, traffic alerts during construction, and to organize rideshare programs for the private sector.
We also reduced the carbon footprint in our public planning meetings.
This is a question for Don on his teleworking from home. I'm very impressed with your appearance in this presentation. If I didn't know, I'd think you were sitting right there with Bill and Deborah. Just what are your impediments to doing this?
None, really.
None of it? Live meetings, sharing desktops, video?
Microsoft's unified communication is integrated with my office's existing phone system. My laptop doubles as my phone, so I can receive and call out anywhere and use my on-site number.
It's completely transparent.
Telecommuting also frees up office space. If any available office can be instantly repurposed for any on-site employee, then you can free up the space for other needs.
Instantly repurposed?
Here, look. With programmable phones, an employee finds any phone, punches in their code, that phone becomes their phone, complete with their contact lists, everything.
I want one.
I want 10. Well, I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Call Exchange.
Welcome. You're connected to Microsoft Exchange.
Email.
First, an unread message from Oversight Committee. Question: when can you start?
Yes.
Okay, so I hope that gives you a good idea of the capabilities that we are referring to whenever we talk about unified communications. What I like about the video is that although it seems futuristic, all of the capabilities that you saw there are actually already existing in our set of products. And what's even more exciting is that we have already begun deploying these technologies to customers even here in the Philippines. And so we can say that even local customers or local organizations are now mature enough to realize the value of being able to unify their set of communication tools. Okay, so let's take a step back and think about the priorities of organizations, especially in these trying economic times. Customer care, innovation, sales productivity, being able to respond to customer requests, and being able to respond to challenges. So these are the things that business people are thinking about. And people in IT need to support these initiatives from the business, but at the same time, they are pressured to control the costs. Obviously, web conferencing, as you saw in the video, is one of the capabilities that will be deployed pervasively in the coming months and in the coming years. As per Gartner, by 2010, web conferencing will now be available to 75% of corporate users as a standard facility alongside email, presence, calendaring, instant messaging, and other collaborative facilities. Okay. Even Orbitz, the popular travel site, has noted that a lot of people are now looking for alternative to travel. So they're looking for solutions which would eliminate their need to travel and which would allow them to virtually get together and share information at the same without having to leave their desks or wherever they are. We call this telecommuting. So it's not enough anymore for users to just be productive when they are in the office. Okay, so right now, the workplace is wherever the employee is. No? We have connectivity almost everywhere. So we have it in our homes, we have it inside the malls, we have Wi-Fi hotspots almost anywhere, even at the airport while traveling. And so, especially now when the business is becoming demanding, we are expected to have access to the tools that we need to become productive. We are expected to always be accessible, and at the same time, we are expected to be responsive to whoever is trying to reach us. So I'm going to talk about the Microsoft's Unified Communications Platform. This is our vision for unified communication. When we talk about unified communication, we talk about unifying this set of technologies that you would usually purchase and manage as separate applications. The challenge with doing that is from a back-end perspective, IT organizations are now forced to develop different skill sets just to be able to manage these different systems. They are forced to find ways on how they can integrate email with audio conference, with video conference, and with web conference, and with voicemail. From an end user perspective, it's also difficult because they now have to work with the different gadgets and devices that they have as separate applications. Since these systems don't talk together, the experience of the user is not that seamless. Okay? As we transition this, as we transform these products to run on a unified platform, then the advantages are obvious. No? From a back-end perspective, since these products would now know how to talk to one another, then the skill sets would just be one consistent set of skills. No? The skills that you develop managing your email infrastructure will be the same set of skills you can use to manage your instant messaging, your conferencing, and even your telephone infrastructure. Okay, so it will just be an incremental set of skills which you have which you will add to what you've already acquired managing the other systems. Okay, so from an end user perspective, you also see the benefit of it because since these systems know how to talk to one another, it's now easy to move from an email client to a phone device, to an instant messaging client, moving to a conferencing and voice over IP, and so on. For Microsoft, we leverage on the corporate directory to give users consistent identity. Okay, so this is important so that presence will be there from whatever tool they are using to do their work. Okay, so I'll talk about presence, the concept of presence in a little while, but it will be embedded in your email client, in your IM client, in your conferencing application. Presence will also be reflected in your telephony and as you work with your applications for collaborating with your teams and for doing workflow. For the person trying to reach you, all he would have to know is your identity and your presence information. And if he tries to call you or if he tries to reach you, then that attempt would get routed to the device that you have at hand using the connectivity that is available at that present time. So unified communications is a solution area, and we have a few products which we consider as foundation for unified communications. We take advantage of the fact that a lot of organizations already have Active Directory deployed in their environment. Okay, so we let them leverage that as their enterprise directory, and building on top of that, we have Exchange Server 2007 for enterprise email and calendaring. We then have Office Communication Server 2007 Release 2, which complements Exchange by providing all the real-time communication capabilities the organization might require. What's interesting is that as you move towards the advanced level of communication, let's say you want to implement unified messaging, you still take advantage of this same set of products. You simply activate the unified messaging capability of Exchange 2007, or if you want to do conferencing or voice over IP, you simply activate these advanced capabilities of Office Communication Server 2007 Release 2. And so, relatively, in terms of simplicity and in terms of cost effectiveness, we think that the unified communication stack of Microsoft would be a good alternative to the traditional solutions that other vendors are offering. So I'm now going to talk about the feature set in each product, and I'm going to talk about Office Communication Server 2007 Release 2 first. As I said a while ago, Office Communication Server 2007 Release 2 provides real-time communication capabilities for organizations. At the very basic, it provides you enhanced presence and instant messaging. Okay? But moving beyond that, you can also elevate your sessions with end users by holding multi-party on-premise conferencing. It can be scheduled, it can be ad hoc, you can share presentation files, you can share your entire desktop, and so on. What's interesting about Office Communication Server is that to completely unify the experience, we also are integrating Office Communication Server to the telephony network. We now have the capability to integrate with the PSTN network, so that aside from doing all of these things that I just mentioned, end users would also be able to receive and make calls from and to people connected to the PSTN using ordinary handphones or using mobile phones. Okay, I'm going to do a short demo to show you the presence and instant messaging capabilities of Office Communication 2007 Release 2. I'd like to show you the Office Communicator client, which is the main client that tells me the presence information of the people I usually communicate with. A green status tells me that this person is online and available. A red status tells me if that person is in a meeting or is actually doing something at the moment. Aside from the green and red status, as an end user, I can also choose not to be disturbed. This prevents me from, this prevents other people from trying to communicate with me via IM or via phone call or via video call. When I step away from my desk after a few seconds, the away status will automatically be reflected, telling people that I am away and most probably I wouldn't be able to respond back to their IM or to their chat attempt right away. What's good to note here is that I am not only limited to communicate with internal people or with my colleagues. As you can see here, in the same list of users, I have external contacts. So I can communicate even with people who are outside of the organization, who are using public IM solutions like Hotmail, like AOL or like Yahoo. Okay, I can also communicate with other people who are members of other organizations who are also deployed, who are also using Office Communication 2007 Release 2. This is called Federation. I'm also not limited to seeing the presence information from within the communicator client. I'm right now working with an Outlook email, and from here you can see that the present status of the people related to the email. Okay, so rather than me replying to the email with another email and waiting for that person to reply back, I can simply, if I have a question about the email, simply initiate an IM session with that person. And so it's faster for me to get responses from the email messages that I get. And so this just shows how a combination of email and real-time communication can help make a person more productive and more responsive. The presence information, wherever there's presence information, you can actually choose from different ways to communicate with that person. So let's go back to the communicator client, and if I highlight a certain name, if I right click on it, I can actually choose to send an IM to that person. I can also choose to call that person, and I have a choice whether if that person is also online, I can do a laptop to laptop, a PC to PC voice over IP call. If that person is not online, I can also opt to call that person using her mobile number or using her office phone number. Okay? Since, as I said a while ago, Office Communication Server now provides the capability to integrate with the telephony network. This allows me to just use a single client for different types of communication modes. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So Office Communication Server allows you to do simple IM, but it also, moving beyond that, it also allows you to make use of video, audio, all the way to a full-scale conferencing session where you can share files like PowerPoint presentations, like Word documents, have people join in that conference. You can record those conferences, which makes this capability applicable for different types of scenarios like trainings, like conducting virtual meetings with attendees from different places, and so on. People can attend using their laptops connected via the local area network or via the wide area network, or people can attend even while just using an internet connection, or even if they don't have their laptops, they can also participate in the audio conversation by dialing in the conferencing bridge. What's good about Microsoft's Office Communication Server is that we don't just provide software, but we also have partners which have devices and which allows you to extend your Office Communication Server deployment so that end users will have richer experiences. We have a device called the Roundtable. We are now working with Polycom as a partner to distribute this. You can deploy the Roundtable device inside a medium-sized conference room, just like how you saw it in the video. Roundtable has a panoramic, a 360-degree panoramic video, which displays the people who are seated around the room. We also have different types of IP phone devices. One such IP device will also show the presence information inside the communicator in that IP phone. So even before calling the person, you would already have a sense of their presence information. So you would know how they would respond when you try to call them. Okay? So this is just a reference architecture, a sample architecture of how Office Communication Server can connect to the telephony network. Okay? One good thing about Office Communication Server is that it allows organizations to quickly roll out voice over IP without putting out a large amount of investment. Okay? They might already have PBX systems, and they don't have to upgrade the PBX just to be able to roll out voice over IP. If the PBX is working perfectly, if it's still being supported, then what they can do is just plug in a multimedia gateway in between their PBX, their analog PBX, and Office Communication Server. Office Communication Server will allow them to roll out voice over IP very quickly. We also have direct interoperability with a number of IP-based PBXs, and so this strategy, this architecture practically allows us to integrate with almost any type of PBX that are deployed in customer environments. Office Communicator can connect to the Office Communication Server even without a VPN. So for traveling users who have access to Wi-Fi hotspots, they might be in the airport or in their hotel rooms. All they would need is an internet connection. They would be able to get access to presence information, and they would be able to initiate phone calls, video calls, and even web conferencing sessions with these people who might be inside the organization's network, or who might also be outside of the organization's network at that point in time. We have also Communicator Web Access, which is a web-based interface for people to quickly check on the present status of their colleagues and initiate IM conversations with them. And we have mobile communicator to provide mobile presence and instant messaging. With Office Communications 2007 R2, we have a capability called Group Chat. Group Chat allows the organization to create virtual rooms which would allow people to come in and out as they please. And these rooms, these virtual sessions will not go away just because people have left the room. It will be there and it will serve as virtual meeting places, and these rooms can be created so that people who would want to discuss a particular topic can go to a particular room. Each room can be, everything that goes on in each room can be logged and archived for compliance purposes. As I said a while ago, Office Communication Server also allows users to connect with external people who might be using public IM solutions like Yahoo, MSN, or AOL. We call this public IM connectivity. The dial-in conferencing feature of Office Communication Server bridges people using different devices. So I might want to join a conference or a live meeting using my laptop if I'm connected to the network, or at least if I have an IP connection to the Office Communication Server. But if I am outside of the corporate network and all I have is my mobile device, I can dial in to a number so that at least I could participate in the audio portion of that conference. We are now beefing up the voice capabilities of Office Communication Server. We have the capability called the response group. You can define small groups in Office Communication Server, and you can tell Office Communication Server how to route a particular phone call. A workflow can be set up so that calls can be routed to an available team member, or a certain logic can be applied to an incoming call so that it gets routed to the most appropriate person. So this is the experience when using the Office Roundtable device. And you've seen this live in the video I showed a while ago. Okay, so what do you need when you want to join a conference or a video conference? So at the very basic, you would need a webcam. So we work with commodity webcams. But for those who care about quality, we also support high-definition video. Okay, so we work with partners like Polycom, Tandberg, so that if you have a requirement to provide high-definition video, then we leverage these partners to provide high-definition devices, high-definition video devices for Office Communication Server. Okay, so what's good about Office Communication Server? Since it's software-based, you can build communications-enabled business processes. Okay? You can embed the presence capability inside customized applications, inside .NET applications, inside SharePoint-based applications, so that people would get a sense of the present status of other people from within these applications and get access to the communications capabilities that are available, from being able to IM that person, from being able to do voice, video, and all the way to being able to participate in full web conferences. Okay, so this slide just shows that conferencing is one of the easiest projects to justify because it provides tangible benefits, one of which is travel cost reduction. Since you can initiate web conferences, you can share information from wherever you are using your laptop with a webcam and a headset. You practically don't need to travel for certain meetings anymore. Just set up a conferencing session and you would already be able to virtually get together with the team. Reduction in communications cost as well. Maximize the IP network, maximize the internet connectivity, and you would be able to reduce on long distance charges just by using voice over IP. reduction of real estate and facility costs. Organizations can actually choose not to build office spaces for people like salespeople who are expected to be out in the field anyway, and just provide them with the tools to do virtual conferencing, the tools to access the other applications that they need, like email and so on, from wherever they are out in the field. And the list of companies below just shows you the benefits that these organizations have had just by deploying conferencing. Okay, so this is just a summary of a study that we did for a particular company, which compared the cost of deploying conferencing, so software, hardware deployment, and operations, as compared to the cost savings when you quantify productivity. And the study shows that the return on investment is significant. Within less than a year, the company was able to achieve 308% ROI. Okay. So here are the highlights of Exchange Server 2010. We've decided to focus on 3 key areas, first of which is protection and compliance. The second is providing anywhere access. We've drastically improved the capability of mobile users to be able to access the Exchange Server. And the third one is by providing administrators a more flexible and a more reliable Exchange infrastructure. This is also the first version of Exchange which prepares organizations for the software plus services strategy of Microsoft, and I'll talk about that in the coming slides. So I'll go through the features. Along the lines of protection and compliance, we've introduced the capability for users to store their archives on the server. So right now, with the current version of Exchange and with previous versions, organizations had to get third-party solutions to be able to do this. The challenge of not providing a server-based archiving solution for end users are a lot. So if we allow our end users to download emails into their local PSTs, then they wouldn't have access to this when they are not with their laptops, when they are accessing their email via Outlook Web Access or via other laptops. The PSTs are in the local file system of the users, and so if the desktop or the laptop crashes, the information goes along with it. It's practically impossible for organizations to manage locally downloaded information, and it's practically also impossible for them to be able to retrieve information which have been downloaded, should they be required to do so in the case of litigation or court cases or so on. Being able to save images on the server side provides a lot of benefits. First, users will be able to access their email regardless of the laptops or regardless of the device that they use, because everything's on the server. From a security and compliance standpoint, it will now be easy for organizations to dig up past emails if they are required to do so, because everything is stored centrally. With Exchange 2010, we've introduced special end-user roles, one of which is the compliance officer. The compliance officer is not an IT person. This would typically be a legal person empowered to do multi-mailbox searches. So also along the lines of compliance, if the organization is required to dig up emails, then it's the compliance officer who is tasked to search for the emails with the privilege to do multi-mailbox searches even across archives. It would be easy for the organizations to dig up or to retrieve even old emails. So Exchange 2010 also has a tight integration with rights management services. Okay, so it allows Exchange administrators to create centralized policies which would tell Exchange about what emails would be potentially confidential, and which would allow Exchange to apply RMS policies to these emails. Policies like prevent copying, prevent forwarding would then be automatically applied to the email messages and also to the attachments that go with the email messages. Exchange 2010 also has a feature called Mail Tips, which allow end users to avoid embarrassing situations when they send wrong email messages to the wrong people. So they might, this might be accidental, it can be intentional, sending confidential information to external recipients, sending the wrong email to a big distribution list or a big group of people. The Mail Tips automatically or proactively warns the user that they are sending a particular email, let's say to an external recipient or to a big distribution list, and so on. Aside from warning end users that they might be sending the wrong type of email to the wrong set of recipients, Mail Tips also increases user productivity. It allows them to avoid extra steps when sending emails. It tells them, number one, if the recipient is out of the office and shows them the out of office message of the recipient when they are still while they're still crafting the email. It also tells them if there are users who have exceeded their quotas so that they would know that these emails would most probably bounce back to them. Okay, so we are now making Outlook more and more a universal client for all different types of communications. For Outlook 2010 and Outlook Web Access, we now include the capability to synchronize with mobile devices for SMS messages. So now, using Outlook or Outlook Web Access, you will get access to not only email, but also voicemail, calendaring, and now SMS messages. The user can also use the Outlook client or Outlook Web Access to send and receive SMS messages without the organization having to set up a centralized SMS gateway. Okay, so along the lines of reliability, we've greatly improved how you deployed high availability for Exchange 2010. Okay, so we've improved on continuous replication, which we've introduced in 2007. Now, with the same technology, you can actually deploy servers in active-active fashion. You can deploy 2 servers, which would serve a different set of end users, but which would also serve as backups for one another so that resources are not wasted, but at the same time, these servers would be able to provide the high availability that is required by the organization. With 2010 as well, you'll be able to create up to 16 copies of Exchange databases. Okay, so these copies can be within the same data center as the active server, or it can also be in remote sites. So Exchange will not differentiate between servers that are in the same data center or servers that are located off-site. Okay, so I've talked about the role of compliance officer. So this role can be assigned to a non-IT user, and this person can be provided with specific privileges on the Exchange system. Okay. Other types of roles which can be assigned to end users: an HR person can be empowered to update employee information in the company's directory. Help desk people can also be empowered to manage mailbox quotas. So more and more we are offloading IT administrators from having to do routinary tasks so that they can focus on attending to high value or strategic work as compared to just doing the routinary day-to-day maintenance of the Exchange system. Okay, so Exchange 2010 also prepares organizations for the cloud-based services that Microsoft will offer very soon. The objective is really to give organizations the choice on what to deploy, whether it makes sense to do on-premise or whether to host mailboxes up in the cloud or whether to deploy both. So Exchange 2010 will provide that coexistence in case an on-premise and a hosted service combination is what makes sense for the organization. Okay, so this is the ideal unified communications architecture. Okay, so we have Active Directory, we have Office Communication Server 2007. We have Exchange, currently it's 2007, but pretty soon it will be 2010, serving users inside the office using desktops, using phone devices, serving users outside of the office connected via the internet using laptops and even mobile device, and even users who are just connected using the phone network. So the Microsoft UZ technologies will serve as the bridge to connect all of these people together using different types of devices, using different types of connectivity. Okay, so I'd just like to summarize this presentation by going through the foundation for unified communications as far as Microsoft is concerned. So first, you build a single identity, leverage Active Directory, which is most probably deployed inside your organization, set up messaging and calendaring, deploy presence and instant messaging, and moving beyond that, you can easily, using the same set of products, deliver advanced communication capabilities for software-powered voice over IP, unified messaging, conferencing, and so on. We have a broad partner ecosystem which allows you to extend your current or initial investment in Microsoft Unified Communications to address specific requirements of your end users. Okay, so this is the last slide that I have. This just points out resources that you can take advantage of if you want to know more about Microsoft Unified Communications. Our website, www.microsoft.com/UC, will provide you all the information that you need on the products that we have under Unified Communications. And of course, you can, here is my email address. You can send me a note if you have questions or clarifications on what you've seen today. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time and have a good day.